Okay. Hello everyone. We are from Group 4. Today we're going to present about leading and leadership development. Next slide, please. Okay. So I'm going to talk about the learning objective 14.1. It's about the nature of leadership. Next slide, please. Leadership is the process of inspiring others to work hard to accomplish important tasks. As we can see on the slides, that this is the four basic function of management, and leading is to inspire effort, like communicate the visions, build enthusiasm, and motivate commitment and hard work. Next slide, please. Okay, this is the leadership and power. Leadership success begins with the ways that we use power to influence others. But what is power? Power is the ability to get others to get something done or to make things happen the way you want. And the positive phase of power is that this is the foundation of effective leadership. This means that using power not to influence others for the sake of personal satisfactions, but for the good of the group or organization. Next slide, please. In leadership and powers, there are position power and personal power. Position powers comes from the things that managers and leaders can offer to others, such as reward, punishments, and authority. In position powers, there are reward power, coercive power, and legitimate power. Reward power is the capacity to offer something of value as a means of influencing other people. And then coercive power is the capacity of to punish or withhold positive outcomes as a means of influencing other people. And the last one is legitimate power is the capacity to influence others by virtue of formal authority or the right of office. And then there's personal power. Even though position power is useful, but it isn't enough. It's very often personal power makes the difference between success and failure in a leadership situation. In personal power, there are expert power, relationship power, and reference power. Expert power is the ability to influence others through special skills, expertise, knowledge, and reputation. And personal and expert power is a part of human capital. Human capital is the ability to get things done based on what we know and what we can do. And then there's the relationship power. Relationship power is the ability to influence others through access to connections and networks. And relationship power is a part of social capital, which is social capital is the ability to get things done because of who you know. And the last one is reference power. Reference power is the capacity to influence other people because of their desire to identify personally with you. Next slide, please. So this is the source of position and personal power and how they work. Power of position is based on things managers can offer to others. For example, if you do what I ask, I'll give you a reward. It means that this part of reward. And if you do what I ask, I'll punish you is a part of coercion. And because I'm the boss, you must do as I ask is a part of legitimacy. And there's a power of person is a based on managers are viewed by others. And this is expertise is like as a source of a special knowledge and information. Relationship is someone with helpful connections with other people. A reference is as a person with whom others like to identify. Next slide, please. The next one is leadership and vision. Vision is a clear sense of the future. Vision is a hope for future that can improve things in the work team or in the organization as a whole. And then visionary leadership is described as leader who offer a clear and compelling sense of the future and an understanding of the actions that needed to get there successfully. Next slide, please. And then after that, there's leadership and service. The concept of service is central to integrity, and leaders who have integrity act as a servant of the organization. Servant leadership is based on serving others and helping them fully use their talents so that organization benefits society. Next slide, please. The last one is leaderships and followers. If leadership is inspiring others, that means that followership is the act of joining with a leader to accomplish tasks and goals. Next slide, please.
Okay, so next is learning objective 14.2, leadership traits and behaviors. Next slide. Okay, so leadership traits. So the question to this is, what are the personal traits and characteristics that are associated with leadership success? To answer that question, according to a comprehensive review by Shelley Kirkpatrick and Edwin Locke, there are 8 personal traits of many successful leaders. Number 1 is drive, where successful leaders have high energy, display initiative, and tenacious. Number 2, self-confidence, where they trust themselves and have confidence in their abilities. Number 3, there's creative, where successful leaders are creative and original. Number 4, there's cognitive ability, where successful leaders can integrate and interpret information. Next, there's job relevant knowledge, where successful leaders know their industry and its technical foundation. And then there's motivation, where leaders enjoy motivating others to achieve goals. And then there's flexibility, where they can adapt easily in different situations. And lastly, there's honesty and integrity, where they are trustworthy, honest, predictable, and dependable. And however, followers tend to admire leaders who are honest, competent, forward looking, inspiring, and credible. Next, please. Next is leadership behaviors. The question for this is, how is leadership success affected by leaders' interactions with followers? And so there are 2 dimensions of leadership behavior concerns that is suggested to be done. Number 1 is leaders who have high concern for tasks. So basically, a type of person who concerns for work to be done, set responsibilities, and monitors results. And then number 2 is leaders who have high concerns for people. So leaders act warmth, respect feelings, sensitive to their needs, and etc. And so leaders who have high concern for people tend to be more productive and satisfied. But now there are a new type of dimension where leaders who have concern for both task and people. So these leaders focus on task accomplishment, but at the same time, they still share decisions with team members, empowering them, and etc. Next slide. Okay, so classic leadership styles. There are 4 classic leadership styles that combines concern, task, and concern for people. So number 1 is laissez-faire leaders or improvised managers. So these leaders or managers have a low concerns for both uh, the people and the task. So they focus on minimum effort to get work done. And then number 2 is human resource relation leaders or the country club manager. They have a high concern for the people, but low concern for the task. And so they focus on the people's needs and building relationships. Number 3 is autocratic leaders or authority obedience managers. These managers have a high concern for tasks, but low concerns for the people. So they can focus on efficiency of task and operations. Lastly, number 4 is the democratic leader or the team manager. These managers have a high concern for both the people and the task. So they focus on building participation and support for a shared purpose. Next slide.
Um, so for the third learning objective of this chapter, I will be discussing the contingency approaches to leadership. Next, please. So one of the first contingency leadership models was developed by Fred Fiddler. As Fiddler viewed that leadership is a part of personality that is difficult to change, his research shows that no one leadership style is effective all the time, and leadership success depends on having a good style and situational match. Fiddler measured leadership style using LPC scale or least preferred coworker scale. From this model, it is described that the tendency to behave is either as a task-motivated leader or relationship-motivated leader. Next, please. So this is the figure for the Fiddler's contingency model. As seen in this figure, the most favorable situation gives the leader a lot of control due to lead and member relations, high task structure, and strong position power. On the other hand, the least favorable situation are the ones with low control due to the poor leader-member relations, low task structure, and weak position power. The relationship-oriented style is the most successful for the in-between situations, while the task-motivated leadership style is the most successful when the situation is favorable and unfavorable. Next, please. So the next approach is the Hershey Blanchard situational leadership model. This model suggests that successful leaders change behavior and adjust their style to fit the abilities and confidence of followers as they perform the required tasks. This model pairs follower task readiness or task maturity with four leadership styles, which are participating, delegating, selling, and telling. Participating is the emphasizing of shared ideas and participative decision on task directions. It is a low task and high relationship style, and it works best in high readiness situation with capable, willing, and confident followers. The delegating allows the group to take responsibility for task decision. It is a low task and low relationship style, and it is suitable for followers that are unable, unwilling, or insecure. For selling is the explaining of the task direction in a supportive and persuasive way. It is a high task and high relationship style, and it works best for low to moderate readiness followers that are able but unwilling or insecure. So the final leadership style is telling, which gives specific task direction and closely supervised work. It is a high task and low relationship style, but it is most effective for moderate to high readiness followers that are unable but willing or confident. Next, please. Hershey and Blanchard also believe that leadership should be adjusted as the task readiness of followers changes over time. If the correct style are used in lower readiness situations, followers will mature and grow in ability, willingness, and confidence. In return, leaders will also become less directive and more participative. Next slide, please. So the next approach that I will be discussing is the house's path goal leadership theory, which seeks a good fit between leadership style and situation. This model believes that successful leader add value to situations by moving back and forth among the following leadership styles, which are directive leadership, supportive leadership, achievement-oriented leadership, and participative leadership. Directive leadership lets followers know what is expected by giving directions, scheduling work, and setting and maintaining performance standards. Supportive leadership does things to make work more pleasant by treating team members as equals, acting friendly and approachable, and showing concern for the well-being of others. For achievement-oriented leadership style, it sets challenging goals by expecting high performance, emphasizing continuous growth. And lastly, participative leadership involves team leaders in decision making by consulting with them and asking for suggestion, and actually uses their suggestion when making decisions. Next, please. In this model, successful leaders are the ones that contribute something that is missing or needs strengthening in the situation by avoiding doing things that are already taken care of. For example, when jobs are unclear, directive leadership is needed to clarify task objectives and expected rewards. When worker lacks confidence, supportive leadership is needed by focusing on existing skill and offers extra assistance. When tasks lacks sufficient challenges, achievement-oriented leadership is needed to help by setting stretch goals and raising performance aspiration. And lastly, when motivation is poor, participative leadership identifies individual needs and identify valued rewards. Next, please. Path goal theory also recognizes something called substitutes for leaders, which are the factors in the work setting that direct work efforts without the involvement of a leader. Substitutes function for the leaders to concentrate on doing other more valuable things. The possible substitutes for leadership includes follower characteristics, task characteristics, and organizational characteristics. Next slide, please. So the next approach is the leader-member exchange theory, where it focuses on the behavior where leaders tend to develop special relationships with some team members to the point which everyone may not be treated the same. As shown in this figure, followers fall into in-groups and out-groups. In-groups are the favorites, which get special rewards, assignments, privilege, and access to information. On the other hand, out-group members, also called the also-rans, have low-quality exchange relationship and may be marginalized, ignored, and receive fewer benefits than the in-group members. Next, please. So the last approach that I will be discussing is the leader participation model, which views successful leaders as choosing the right decision-making methods for various problem situations. There are three decisions in this model, which include authority decision, consultative decision, and group or team decision. Authority decision is made by the leader and then communicated to the team. Consultative decision is also made by the leader after gathering information from members, either individually or as a group. On the other hand, a group or team decision is made by the team, either on its own or with the leader's participation as a contributing member. Next, please. This figure shows the leader participation model, where the authority decision work best when leaders have the information and expertise needed to solve problems and are confident acting alone. It also works best when followers are likely to accept and implement the leader's decision. On the other hand, consultative and group decisions work best when the leader lacks information or the expertise needed to solve a problem. They also work best when the problem is unclear, follower acceptance is necessary for implementation, and adequate time is available. Next slide, please.
So for the last learning object that I'm going to discuss is about personal leadership development. Charismatic and transformational leadership. The pathway to transformational leadership starts with the willingness to bring real emotion to the leader-follower relationship. It involves being a positive role model who acts with integrity and lives up to the trust of others. It requires having both a compelling vision of the future and the ability to communicate that vision to influence others to work hard together to achieve it. It started with charismatic leader. It is a person who inspires followers in extraordinary ways. And next one is transformational leadership. It is basically an inspirational and arouses extraordinary effort and performance. And last one, it comes to a transformational leaders. They basically use their personalities, character, and insight to influence others. So in emotional intelligence and leadership, what is emotional intelligence? It is basically the ability to manage our emotions in social relationships. It's the leader who is emotionally intelligent, basically they divide it by some various characteristics, and it started with motivated and persistent. It's like being willing to work hard for reasons other than money and status. And high social awareness, it is understand others' emotions and relate to them more effectively. Good self-management, the ability to think before acting and to control otherwise disruptive impulses. And good relationship management, it's establish rapport with others to build social capital through relationships and informal social networks. And the last ones, they must have high self-awareness because it is the ability to understand one's own work and on others' work. Gender and leadership. This is a question that says, are there gender differences in leadership? The first one is research largely supports the gender similarities hypothesis. It means males and females have similar psychological properties. Second one, research leaves no doubt that both women and men can be equally effective as leaders. And the third one, research shows that men and women are sometimes perceived as using different styles and arriving at leadership success from different angles. And gender and leadership, there's comes with traditional stereotypes that differentiate men and women. And if we simplified, the man is the person who take charge and directive and assertive in traditional command and control ways. And for the women, they basically take care, and the role is behave in supportive and nurturing ways. So leadership from these traditional stereotypes, it leads to leadership double bind. When women get criticized for displaying stereotypical male leadership characteristics and also for displaying stereotypical female leadership characteristics. And not for that, but for the women side, it comes with interactive leadership. It's like the pattern of positive leader behavior sometimes attributed to women. And moral leadership, there's a say like always good and right by ethical standards. It means the leaders must show the integrity with honesty, credibility, and consistency in putting values into action. And then they earn the trust of the followers. After the followers believe on them, they try to live up to their leaders' expectations. One of the risks in living up to the expectation of moral leadership is moral overconfidence, which is an overly positive view of one's strength of character. And the concepts of servant leadership and moral leader are basically fit to each other for each other, and it comes up with authentic leadership, which is activates positive psychological states to achieve self-awareness and positive self-regulations. The values and actions of authentic leaders create a positive ethical climate in their organization. And the last one that I'll be discuss is about Drucker's good old-fashioned leadership. Drucker believed the basic building block for success as a leader is defining and establishing a sense of missions. And Drucker highlighted the importance of accepting leadership as a responsibility rather than a rank. It means good leaders surround themselves with talented people, aren't afraid to develop strong and capable followers, and don't blame others when things go wrong, and accept the adage that has become a hallmark of leadership. And the last one, Drucker stressed the importance of earning and keeping the trust of others, which means the key is the leader's personal integrity. Basically, followers of good leaders trust in their leadership. They believe what their leader says and know that their actions are consistent with that. And yeah, I guess that's all from our chapter materials. Thank you for paying attention.